We are here with junior Katherine Kopec for our first segment of CU Faith Fridays, a new thing that campus ministry is doing where we get to hear from students about how they're living their faith, especially during this time of the COVID-19 pandemic. So here we have with us Katherine today. Katherine, would you like to start by just telling us a little bit about yourself, your major, whatever we would like to know about you?
Yeah, sure. So I am a junior, as you had said. I'm a double major in English and psychology and hope to be part of the ABA program and help those with autism and just behavioral analysis and things like that. I also am an ambassador for the university as well.
Great, awesome. So that's cool. Going into the ABA program, how did you get interested in that, or how did you start heading down that path?
I've been teaching at several CCD classes, and particularly I found myself having an autistic kid, even one or two of my classes, and I think those just really served an inspiration, and I really felt like I was able to tap into them and help them throughout the lecture, and just seeing them from when they first began crying, wanting to get out, to then just enjoying their time.
That's awesome. That's really great. So you mentioned teaching CCD classes. So I'd love to ask you more about kind of your faith in general, what you're involved in, and how you got into that. So I guess since being at Caldwell, specifically, what are some things that you've gotten involved in, campus ministry things that you've gotten involved in? And then I'm also curious about other outside faith activities outside of the Caldwell University campus, since you're a commuter.
Yeah, no problem. So in terms of at Caldwell, I started actually freshman year. We have a program called the First Program where freshmen are able to move in a week early and just go to different service sites. So we went to school and helped them clean up. And then we also went to a historic mansion that needed help with landscaping and stuff like that. So really just help out the community in the best we can. I also went on a midnight run to New York to help give clothes to the homeless. I have went to Belize, which was an awesome experience. We helped a local school build a partition for the classroom that they really needed, and that would really be beneficial to them. Also just recently we went to Philadelphia where we had many different service sites, from helping restore furniture to food banks, things of that nature. And I also just recently became part of CRS, which is Catholic Relief Services on campus as well. In terms of outside of Caldwell, I've been an altar server for a long time, since I was about in the third grade, which I think that also really helped in motivating me to go to church every Sunday and the holidays and all that kind of stuff. And then also through the CCD classes that I teach, I think that just opened my eyes to many different parts of my faith that maybe I've never known about or realized. And I think just going back to my childhood about what I was like taught then, and then now I get to teach it. I think that's just pretty cool.
That's awesome. Wow, that's great. That's great. So it sounds like you're involved in a lot. I love that a good amount of it is service related, which is really cool. So kind of thinking about before this pandemic, before COVID-19, how would you describe your faith life? How would you describe your relationship with God?
So I think before it was definitely strong. I think as it is now as well. I love to have more of a conversational type relationship with God. So that means taking time and just really talking to Him about my day, about what makes me anxious, what makes me scared, but also what I'm grateful for that He gave me during the day or even in life.
That's great. That's great. And then as a whole, what would you say you get out of faith? Like why have faith? Why practice your faith? Why do service out of faith? All of that.
I think for me, it really is all about giving me hope, but also confidence and inspiration. I think that without my faith, I think I wouldn't be able to get through the day so easily, perhaps especially now in challenging times. But I also think in this drastic change as well. Just having that comfort that someone is watching over us and that things will get better. So I think, like I said, I think it's just the hope of that we will resume to our normal lives. And I think when we do, we'd be even more appreciative of things that we maybe would never realize beforehand.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit about being at home. You're quarantined. So you've been at home for how many weeks now? 3, 4?
About 3 or 4, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you're at home. How is it being quarantined? What's life at home like for you?
Being quarantined, I think, is definitely was odd and still is odd for me. I'm used to being around loads of people a day, so kind of just being that kind of independent at home. I think I've done a lot of cleaning since I was here and many redecorating and all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, I think just getting used to not being able to just drive wherever I wanted and just pick up a cup of coffee, now it's like you have to have all these safety precautions, which is great, I think, as well. Yeah, I tend to do schoolwork, puzzles, watch some kind of shows just to get my mind off of no one being around, so to speak. I think FaceTiming and video chatting is also great.
That's great. And, I think a unique challenge that you have that not everyone might have is that you are at home alone during the day. And I know there's a lot of other students who find themselves living by themselves. A lot of students also have siblings or parents. And, I think there's two sides to the coin of there's positives and negatives for both, whether you're by yourself or whether you're with your family all day, every day. But I want to talk a little bit about, you've mentioned to me that your mom is a nurse. So I want to talk a little bit about kind of the work that you see your mom doing on the front lines and what that is like for you. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about that.
I definitely think not seeing her is definitely a big stress on me, coming from the fact that I am a commuter. So I was used to seeing her morning and then night, or maybe even just the night as well. But I think just her inspiration, her bravery to go out there on the front lines really does help me get through the day as well, knowing that she's going out there and doing helping patients and helping them get better. But I think it's also her strong faith as well that helps me tap into my faith as well. Yeah, I think it's just the confidence that she and I both have in God, that He is watching over us and that He will protect us in any way that He can. Yeah, so I think it's just she serves as an inspiration for me to keep going while I'm at home and just remind myself that I'm home and that she's out there.
So what's been challenging in terms of life or even faith during this time for you?
I think most challenging is asking the question of why that I find myself inquiring. Basically, just like, why doesn't He just stop the pandemic, or why doesn't He just, heal? But it doesn't work that way. I wish it was that simple, but it's not. But I think losing that constant schedule also has been rough, with classes being online as well. So, just keeping up with all the deadlines and stuff like that. Again, I think just being alone, but also not being around others is definitely another challenge, I think, as I mentioned before. But I think concerning my faith, I think I definitely have a little more time to think about my faith and to really just pray to God. I think before maybe I got a little busy with day-to-day life and was just like, oh, okay, I'll do it tomorrow or something, and I forget. But now I have this time, that way I could really tap into that. And just have that conversation.
Great. That segues into my next question, which is ways that you've grown in your faith, and you talked a little bit about that. What do you like to do for prayer while at home? And is there anything that you would suggest for others to maybe try?
Definitely, I think when we think of prayer, we think of the Our Father and Hail Mary. But I think it's also important to think of it as, like I said, a conversation, or just simply saying, God help me in this time, or thank you for allowing me to do this today or that today. I do find myself also listening to different kinds of, music in terms of like Christian worship and stuff like that. Also, if there is like daily masses online that are streamed, or even past masses, I would just sit there and just also go along with the mass as well. Um, yeah, I think that's basically what I do.
Great, awesome. Do you have a favorite way to pray in that, or a favorite place to pray in your home?
I think my favorite place is my bedroom, and I think that's because I don't have any electronics in there or anything like that to keep me distracted. But I also think it's just like a space that is mine and a space that I could really just focus on what I'm trying to relay to God and really try to stay quiet so that I could also listen to Him.
Awesome, great. Well, I just want to thank you, Catherine, for being with us today, for sharing just a little bit about what life is like for you right now. I think it's really hard for everybody, and I know having your mom out there on the front lines is probably, um, as you said, both caused you to rely on your faith, but also struggle at the same time. And so, thank you for sharing that with our viewers. And I just want to say, tune in next Friday, where we'll have be interviewing another student, and you can kind of hear a little bit more about their faith and what they've been encountering during this time. So, thank you.
No problem.